Hey friends, Sean from SGTReport.tv and SGTReport.com here. You can also find me on BitChute, you can find me on Odyssey and Rumble, but of course SGTReport.tv is the place to support us and find all of the exclusive work. I have a very important update for you here regarding the emergency injunction against Google. Lots of news to share, and I'm very excited to report that so far, friends, we have raised nearly $77,000 to take the fight to Google. This is a real fight, and if ever there was a time to get engaged with us and stand with us against tyrannical censorship, the time is now. If not now, when? If not us, who? The timing for this emergency injunction is extremely important. In fact, guys, the October 15th YouTube purge was done at a time that gives us this opportunity, and it may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'll explain. Now, guys, just so you understand, again, this is real. The wheels are in motion. It's going to happen. Chris Armenta is the attorney that we've engaged. She has 25 years of experience. She was named a top 100 female attorney in California and a super lawyer in the area of civil rights. She's the real deal. She has litigated against Google in the past. Guys, if you haven't jumped on board to help us with this lawsuit, please do. Pitch in $5, pitch in $10. Again, people have said to me so many times, you've laid out the problems, now provide a solution. Or, enough talk, we want action. This is action. It is actionable and it is happening. We are going to file an emergency injunction against YouTube, against Google, to get the channels that were purged on October 15th restored. Why? Well, because if those channels are not restored, irreparable harm, unrepairable harm, will have been done to the channels and to the audiences after the election. Again, I'll note, YouTube purged the channels just 3 weeks before the election. The timing, obviously, is to prevent political discourse. Now, guys, I want you to understand the legal strategies here. YouTube is in breach of contract of their own terms of service. Let me go over here. This is Chris Armenta talking to Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees. Here's why they're in violation of their own terms of service.
The simplest and most elegant legal strategy to us appears to be a simple breach of contract case. Every time that a channel creator creates a channel and puts up content, they essentially enter into a contract with Google YouTube. That contract is called the terms of service. And Google has amended the terms of service from time to time. In fact, in earlier years, back in 2015 or so, the Google terms of service, the YouTube terms of service said specifically that they could take down content anytime they wanted to for any reason. They had words in those terms of service like sole discretion, and we can take it down for any reason, or really, no reason at all. Well, that has changed. The terms of service that are in play right now that govern the relationship between everyone who got purged on Friday and YouTube or Google, on the other hand, only provides 3 reasons that YouTube can take down the channel. It's in their terms of service, and it's under a heading called Terminations and Suspensions by YouTube for Cause. And what it says, I'm going to read it because it's important. And it's basically what we're going to say is the contract, and this is the contract that YouTube breached, okay? And the language says this: YouTube may suspend or terminate your access, your Google account, or your Google account's access to all or part of the service if you, A, materially or repeatedly breach this agreement, B, we are required to do so to comply with the legal requirement or court order, or C, we believe there's been conduct that creates or could create liability or harm to any user or third-party YouTube or affiliates.
Guys, I'll pause it right there and just explain. Most of the channels, including my 2 channels that were terminated on October 15th, were in good standing. There were no community guidelines strikes against my channels. So number 1, how can they take down channels under their own terms of service? Well, if a channel repeatedly breaches the terms of service agreement. Again, most all of the channels had 0 strikes. Number 2, is there a legal requirement or a court order to take down the channels? I don't think so. Probably not in the case of any of these channels. Certainly that hasn't been cited by YouTube or Google for the reason they took down our channels. Number 3, harm. Do these channels cause harm? Now here's where Google and YouTube have been hiding behind Section 230. Guys, I want you to understand, number one, what the common denominator is between all of the channels that were purged on October 15th. I will tell you this, it wasn't Q. Despite what the mainstream media is saying to support this YouTube purge on October 15th, it wasn't Q. The thing all of these channels had in common is that we talked about and exposed pedophilia and child sex trafficking. Now, Section 230, believe it or not, when that was created to allow platforms to purge or terminate offensive content, Section 230 was largely created to prevent child pornography. Now, big tech seized on the language in Section 230 to exploit it and to use it to take down anything they want. However, under the letter of the law, the only content they can legally remove is content that is obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, or otherwise objectionable. Now, big tech likes to hide behind that last term, otherwise objectionable, and remove content they don't like or agree with. But the Ninth Circuit Court in California has said that is not a catch-all phrase. It has to be a like of the same kind, meaning otherwise objectionable content must be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, or excessively violent. It can't be political speech. You can't hide behind Section 230 and claim that political speech from SGT Report or X22 Report or iPod or Amazing Polly or Pick Your Poison is otherwise objectionable content. So we're going to go after them, and we're going to go after them hard because what they're doing is illegal. And good news, the Ninth Circuit, where this probably will be filed in the coming week, has tipped conservative thanks to President Trump and judicial appointments. It used to be the most liberal circuit in the land, and now we have a fighting chance of receiving justice. One other thing I want to mention, guys, as you think about supporting this lawsuit, again, if not now, when? They did this 3 weeks before the election. They're interfering in our ability to have discourse about politics moving into what might be the most important election of our lifetimes. All right, one last thing before I let you go. I want to make the point, which Zach made in this conversation with Chris, that Google has acted as a state actor.
Here's my next question. There is a government pressure to censor, and I was wondering if you think that Google might be a quasi-state actor.
Oh, I don't even know that I would say quasi-state actor. I mean, we've alleged in another case that we have in representing young Pharaoh in connection with his demonetization. We actually think that Google has acted exactly like a state actor and should be held liable just like a state actor.
Well, what does that mean? Well, all right, imagine that a police officer comes to your door and breaks down your door and grabs you and your wife and hauls you away, but he didn't have a warrant. That is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, and it's illegal. Now, imagine your neighbor shows up at your door, and he bashes in your door because the police force him to at gunpoint, and then the police come in and arrest you and your wife. That also is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, and it is illegal because they don't have a warrant. You can't force somebody to be a bad actor. Now, Google has acted as a state actor. How? Well, Adam Schiff wrote a letter on congressional letterhead on February 14th, 2019 to Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. It was a 2-page letter talking about dissemination of unfounded theories about the dangers of vaccinations. Schiff said that Facebook, YouTube, Google, etc. should not allow speech disseminating such ideas. He also advised that conspiracy theories not be allowed, no vaccine misinformation, and nothing medically inaccurate. Well, as Zach points out in this conversation, who's to decide? Adam Schiff? Who's to decide what is medically accurate or inaccurate? But I'll move on. It gets worse. Adam Schiff sent another letter dated April 29, 2020, in which he urged Google to censor any information running counter to World Health Organization talking points or policies. He then tweeted a copy of that letter directly to CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki. Get this. Here's how she responded.
Not only did he tell them how to run their business, but he then tweeted this letter to the CEO of YouTube, and she then responded in a tweet on the same day and said, "Thanks for reaching out. We're working every day to protect people from misinformation, to help them find authoritative information. We appreciate your partnership and will continue to consult with members of Congress. So she actually acquiesced and said, thanks, Representative Shelf. We're going to basically do what you say in a partnership with you. So to me, that removes from Google any notion that they're just acting as a private party and exercising their own First Amendment rights, because they're basically doing the bidding of one member of Congress who wants it his way.
Isn't that amazing? Friends, Chris is so sharp. Zach Voorhees is so sharp. I just want people to understand that Zach vetted dozens of attorneys before settling on Chris. This is a real lawsuit. This is a sensible approach to reining in big tech tyranny. Friends, this is really happening. And many of us, many of the channels that were terminated are on board with this lawsuit. We're signing on as plaintiffs. This is real. People want action. This is action. If not now, when? Friends, here's a current tally of the monies raised for this emergency injunction, $78,000. And by the way, Chris has said, if we continue to raise money and we don't get what we need out of the Ninth Circuit, she's willing and ready to take this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Friends, this is the fight, and it's not just about SGT Report or any of the channels that were purged on October 15th. It's not just about those channels. It's about setting a precedent and reining in big tech tyranny and teaching them a lesson that what they did is illegal, it's criminal, and it will not be allowed to continue. They cannot hide behind Section 230 anymore. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please pitch in a few bucks. Help us fight big tech. Help us take the fight directly to Google, directly to YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, friends. You can find all of my exclusive content, in fact, all content, at sgtreport.tv, and of course, real news 24/7 at sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda. God bless. Bye-bye.